Okay, so for context, this server is centered around God, and I wanted to create something based off him. So my bright-minded brain thought to make a Christ-centered town in survival, which limited my resources to only Oakwood. Just saying, there's a creative world that I ignored. This server, however, isn't any normal world. I'll explain everything when it's relevant. Currently, the only thing I have created is a house, a small crop farm, and a tree farm. So I really needed to step my game up and get going, or else there's nothing to record. For reference, here's how my current builds and creative are looking like. And I want my builds to look like that. And since the server's only temporary, might as well bless them with my awesome skills. This is sarcasm, by the way. Since this is a obviously Christ-centered server, a church is basically an essential. So I gladly decided to shape the church to the surrounding area. That wasn't a very good idea, so I sacrificed my axes to chop almost everything down and rebuild the church's base. But obviously, something had to get in my way. Remember when I mentioned about the server being different? That's because the server's mobs are built different. Pillagers, creepers, and skeletons spawn very rapidly, along with their strength and skill. So you bet that was my biggest obstacle, since I'm not a very good fighter when it comes to mobs, especially pillagers. So you bet creating that church was a hassle by itself. Fast forward a day later, I finally finished the church's base and roof. I actually used a reference provided by Google for the church's interior and roof, since I have never created a church before. I tried to make the interior more architecturally friendly, but it still looks very wrong. I also based some of the elements from my local church, adding the stage and windows. This church low-key took me 2 days, but that's because I'm off school for another 2 weeks, so I spent around 3 hours each day to build that church. I'll put some of the mobs up on screen right now. They were very annoying if I'm being real, since I don't usually fight pillagers in my free time. You may laugh at my skill since I'm more of a builder rather than basic PvP. Now that that's done and dusted, I took a long break and turned towards my next project. Alright, if I had to be real, landscaping was probably the most confusing thing I've ever done, since the water just had to obey Minecraft's code and go in random directions that weren't at all necessary. And the path? Don't even get me started on that. It was a whole other thing that made my head hurt, honestly. But for some reason, I got through with it and finished it. I'll go decorate it later. I don't know. Well, on to the third one. If I have to be real, I probably needed references for this, but I was too lazy and made a shop with no texturing. It was a bit of a hassle, cutting down more trees and finding a horse and beehive, plus getting materials, but I got through with it. And meanwhile I was doing this, the weather shifted from boiling hot, for your information, I'm in New Zealand, to freezing temperatures. So I was a bit moody, to say the least. All my days boiling would come to use in the rain since I didn't feel cold, for a hot minute at least. Putting that aside, the shops are finally finished. This is kinda where I started getting burnt out, so I improvised, if you know what I mean. I added irregular buildings and made a cute little storage place with barrels. How I love barrels. And even made a tall building with nothing in it. This is quite short since I'm rushing to get this done. Why I added quotation marks is because it's not really finishing touches if you really think about it. Like the interior and decoration plus texturing still needs to be done. I'll do it later whenever I feel like it. I added a well because, why not? Also, it was on my list that I was supposed to do, but I got carried away and slowly lost motivation since the church is already done. And I added a path that went through the town to make it look a little more professional. Now what you've all been waiting for, the final result. Very underwhelming, being for real. And before you click off the video, I'm thinking about live streaming the server on Twitch and YouTube. So if I even decide to do that, it will be in the description. Everything's in the description at this point. Please consider subscribing. My life goal is surpassing my Roblox Shorts account. It has 352 subscribers, I think. So please subscribe to help me with my life goal. I forever appreciate that. God bless.